Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to see if anybody goes over that.
Again, good morning. Consideration of agenda items. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger,
Second.
second by Commissioner Polmeyer to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Payment of the bills.
Mr. Chairman, I move the payment of the bills.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kruger for the payment of the bills in the amount of $232,482. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, if only the rest of the meeting will go that fast, but I doubt it. The Sheriff's Office. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. How's everyone doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good. On the right page here. I'm asking for consideration of approval to send 2 deputies to attend a 3-day class in Grafton, North Dakota from August 27th to August 29th for armored vehicle operations. The total cost for the 2 officers to attend this class will be $897.60. You want me to read any more on that, or?
Sure, why don't you just go through it, please?
Sure. Cost of training per deputy is $195. Lodging is $84.60 per night, and that's for the total of $897.60. The course will cover armored vehicle operations, safety and crew survivability, flat driving range, off-road range, AV dynamics, immediate action drills, and officer down rescue.
Okay, so you have an old armored.
Yes, we
vehicle now,
have our
And someday the goal,
Peacekeeper. Yeah.
the goal or the wish would be to
Yeah,
update that. So this
Right.
would be good for either.
correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this isn't, if we weren't able to move forward with the new one in the next few years, this class isn't specific to that.
Right, it's not specific to any potential new armored vehicle we have. It covers generically all the different types of armored vehicles.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as long as we've got Scott here, but basically it's training him on the tactics and how to utilize the vehicle to its greatest potential in an incident, is that?
Correct, correct.
Okay, all right. And yet, for the safety of all the personnel involved, correct?
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good luck. Environmental Services, Tim Langenfeld. So I'm not really sure how this all works today, but
Well, Mark asked me to come here because we've been dealing with this issue because
Okay.
there's another event that coincides with it
right.
that's separate, that he had to deal with, and then we'd work together on that. So he's got that part straightened out, but he wanted me to be here in case you guys had any questions on that.
all right. Can you just kind of go over what it is then, and we'll go from there?
Yep, so I am here to ask for approval for the 2019 Winstead Craft Beer Festival. That is September 14th, 2019. This is a major event that benefits the Adult Training and Rehabilitation Center in Hutchinson and Winstead communities, which work with 140 disabled adults to find employment and to improve their daily lives. This is a sampling event only. Attendance is expected to be approximately 500 persons. ATHC has completed and filed with the City of Winstead and the County of McLeod the application and permit for a 1-day temporary on-sale liquor license.
All right. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the application for the Winstead Craft Beer Festival.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, who's covering, Sheila, do you know who's covering item B under environmental services? Oh, I didn't even see you, I'm sorry.
So I'm seeking approval for McLeod County SSTS Restoration Clean Water Loan, a resolution for the general note and obligation for the term of 1.4 million.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
pull your mic up a little bit when you talk there, but it's kind of important that, I mean, that the public hears this. I mean, this is pretty important. We have a definite need in McLeod County to clean up some of our septic systems that are not working properly, but the public needs to know that there's loan capabilities and ways to get their systems up to date. And I personally have one, and it goes over a number of years off your property tax, but that's just my comment. I just make sure that some of this has been held by some watershed before, and now I think McLeod, if I'm right, is taking, pretty much got the grant on their own.
Yeah, before it was through the Crow River watershed,
Right.
and now we did it as a county-wide project.
And I think that's probably the more prudent way to do it too.
All right, any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, thank you.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. County Attorney.
We've got some more.
I missed one?
Item C.
Oh, geez.
Environmental services.
Not County Attorney. Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
Sorry about that.
I'll come up anyway.
Yeah, okay. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, thank you. I have before you an agreement for the industrial waste and disposal of some 8515 recycling residue out at our facility. This agreement would be with Spruce Ridge Resource Management or Waste Management for the disposal of approximately, I estimate, about 175 to 200 tons of recycling residue. So this would allow us to dispose of that material as industrial waste versus municipal solid waste at a cost savings of quite a bit, actually. So I'm estimating the cost to be around $10,000, and that would include shipment of the material from our facility to Spruce Ridge.
All right. Any questions for Sarah?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I guess I kind of know the answer, but I mean, this is part of cleaning, I mean, from our transition through our evolution of what we're doing with recycling and our facility. This is to get some of the stuff that was left, gotten rid of, or into the proper channels. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is to clean out the material that we accumulated when the sort line was
That
running.
has no value and it's not prudent to try to run it through recycling.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sarah, this is the material that's already baled up, or is it, it's not loose material?
It's not loose material. This is material already baled up on the east side of the building.
So it's simply a matter of loading it and delivering it to the landfill.
Correct.
And then we're through with it then.
We're through with it, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would also move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I think I can go to the county attorney now. So,
What's before you is a purchase agreement between us and the Lester Prairie City, and it's their Economic Development Authority that is purchasing the highway shop that we have, which we agreed to sell to them for $66,400. Everything is according to as it should be. I would note that we're retaining on page 3 of 7 at the very top and Roman numeral 5 road right-of-way easements for county roads 9 and 23. And John, is that a 60-foot easement? Is that enough? Get back to me on that, because this isn't finalized yet, but they're recognizing that we will retain that. Then the second matter that's before you is a resolution that states that we support the annexation of that property into the city limits of Lester Prairie. So I would recommend that you approve both of those matters.
Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of Resolution 19 CB 34 and the annexation resolution as well for this, in agreement with the city of Lester Prairie.
All right, motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Anything else, Mike? Nope. All right, thank you. The IT department. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Adobe has changed their software licensing from device-based to named user-based licensing. This has resulted in a price increase to their products. In order to obtain the best possible prices available, MNCCC has entered into an Adobe Enterprise Licensing Agreement. As an MNCCC member county, we are eligible to purchase licensing through this agreement. The quantity of licenses McLeod County uses is not enough to qualify for our own Adobe Enterprise License Agreement. Our current Adobe licensing is through Carver County, which expires at the end of September 2019, and Carver County is no longer offering this to us. Requesting the approval of the purchase of 105 licenses of Adobe Acrobat Pro at a cost of $57.62 each, plus 5% MNCCC fee, for a total of $6,325.61 to be paid from the information technology budget.
Okay. Any questions for Matt?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Matt, there is a possibility that we will have a lower cost because some of the licensing needs might have been misstated to Matt. There are lower license available of Adobe.
Okay.
We may be able to lower the cost, but he today is asking for approval for up to what would be needed.
All right, so this is the worst case scenario?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
again, it's a question that I kind of know the answer for, but people looking from the outside in, tell us why we need this.
So the Adobe Acrobat product allows the creation and editing of PDF files. It also allows other functionality regarding digitally signing some PDF files that were not created properly to be able to be signed using the Adobe Reader software.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? If not, what's the wishes of the board?
So because there is a comment of it might change, do we approve this as a not to exceed, to leave that somewhat open, or what would be the best way to approach that?
A not to exceed is fine.
That's a good idea.
All right, so I'll make a motion then to approve, but not to exceed the dollar figure of, we'll use the $6,300, what should we do, $6,325.61, is it not to exceed?
Yes.
All right, motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, we're in the agenda for a public hearing, but we're not there for the time, so we'll have to wait till 9:30 to move on with that. The next item is Health and Human Services. Do we have enough time to do that before 9:30? That's about 20 minutes.
Probably not.
Okay. As we go to Public Works, item A, I'd like to wait until that one's on time, because I think we may have some audience participation in that. So, how about the rest of these, John? Is it something that? Mike, you okay with that? Leaving A, but going B, C, and D, taking those now? Okay.
Hey, good morning.
You okay with that, John?
So item B, we've got a center line culvert up on County Road 60 or 240th Street between Todd Lake and Hook Lake that is failing, and we'd like to get that replaced. We received some quotes. A low quote was from Jewel Contracting out of Hutchinson. Replaced the 36-inch culvert, lump sum fee $19,500. We had one more quote from Reiner Contracting out of Hutchinson for $45,354.35.
Yes.
John, are both these quotes are similar products, so we're...
Yeah, apples to
definitely
apples.
Apples to apples?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Again, the question is, could you just explain why we're doing this? I mean, it just, I kind of know. but
Yeah,
when you-
so some of these larger culverts, we don't have the capacity in-house to do those center line replacements. This particular one is between, both those lakes are a little higher now, so we'll have to dam them up and so forth, so. But the culverts are, you know, those roads are probably back in the 50s and 60s, and the culverts are failing, and it's time for replacement.
Mr. Chair, I noticed, and I know people are gonna notice the difference in the quotes, and we're seeing more and more of this through, whether we're building roads or building anything, the quotes are so far, and I don't know why it is, or if it's because the contractors have enough work. I don't know why, but I appreciate the bid from Jewel, so with that, I'd move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C then would be the culvert material for that project. So we received quotes from Hancock Concrete for a cost of $7,457.12, and that's for the pipe materials, the aprons, the ties, associated materials for that. Second, two other quotes are from Forterra out of Maple Grove and County Materials out of Wisconsin for a little bit higher, $7,562.38, and the high quote of $8,896. So we recommend going with Hancock with the low price of $7,457.12.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the bid from Hancock Concrete for the culvert.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Do you want to cover item D now or wait?
Yep, I think, let's see here, make sure, no, I don't. Because I think we might also have some visitors there, so we'll wait on that one. Rich, if I give you 30 seconds, can you get your calendar together?
I think I planned on this already.
Okay.
Since our last board meeting, we had the workshop after the meeting. Had a planning commission meeting, which was part of what was on our consent agenda. Another part will be coming on our next meeting with some more with solar power and so forth. Also attended the Prime West meeting on the 1st. A lot of discussion about county-based purchasing, how that works, how it's supposed to work, and with something that we'll be discussing, some of the problems that the Department of Health is throwing in with county-based purchasing. Along with that, a few phone calls, and that brings me up to today.
Okay, main meetings attended. We had a budget meeting setting up for some of our items of discussion today. I went down to Sibley County for the morning and set up for what would be our JD 18 meeting coming up next week. A combination of 4 ditch systems to discuss at the same time about redetermination of benefits, potentially merging those systems, and there's a lot of moving pieces, and so I met with Sibley County auditor and attorney to try and get all that rounded up. So on the 12th, we have a very productive meeting. In the meantime, more progress by phone call, I think. A lot of stuff on budgets and highway, fairgrounds, and solid waste that didn't really need to set up a meeting for, but was able to handle most of it through phone calls. So.
All right. After the last meeting, we had the workshop, which was mentioned, also the open house at the Young Klaus building for the employees and the public. Thank you to the staff that put that together. I've had a couple rounds of administrator interviews, and another round of those will be happening today. A lot of phone calls regarding personnel issues. Again, not enough to set up a meeting, but some things that we have to deal with. And then union negotiation with the Teamsters bargaining units. Ron?
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since our last county board meeting, I was going on vacation for a few days, so I don't have a lot to report. Last Thursday, as Rich had mentioned, we had attended the Prime West Health Joint Powers Board meeting. It was a very special meeting. We've got some resolutions coming before us later this morning regarding the determination from the State Department of Human Services regarding procurement of services within our member counties for the Prime West area. Prime West is in the process of adding 11 additional counties to our membership for 2020. So those counties were also in attendance because the decisions rendered by the Department of Human Services affect all of us for the next calendar year, and we are in dispute with the decisions made by the DHS, and so we had thorough conversation with that presentation of a lot of details that I think we need to bring forward here during our discussion later. And all in all, the process was quite concerning. We had a room full of people. Typically, a Prime West Board meeting is about 30 to 40 people. At this meeting, we probably had well over 100 people in attendance, representing the member counties and future member counties of Prime West. Then yesterday, I attended the Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership quarterly meeting. That's a joint powers board for 20 counties in southern and western Minnesota. Our audit was presented to us. The audit was done by Baker Tilly, and I have the results here if anyone is interested in looking at them. Renville County is our fiscal host for Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership. And so the audit was done in conjunction with the Renville County staff. And we have a clean audit, no findings. We're very happy to report that. And other than that, caseloads for the Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership have grown over the last couple of years, and it's really turning out to be a really beneficial process for a lot of these young first-time mothers to get assistance they need to get their family off to a good start. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Ron. Doug?
Mr. Chair, after our last meeting, I also, we had our workshop, and then I attended the open house at the Young Klaus building for a new government center. It's amazing what they do with technology to show how it's going to look when it's completed. On Monday the 18th, I attended the Minnesota Viewers Association. I try to get to as many of them as I can. They are the association of viewers for redetermining ditches. They're the people that actually go out in the field and determine and assess values to our ditches. And this one was held in University of Minnesota Southwest Research Center in Lamberton. They took us out on a tour and showed us some experimental things they're doing with water retention and cleaning up water, and then our meeting back in their offices. But it was enlightening. I mean, obviously the smaller scale, how to work that into a bigger scale of ag is going to be the tough deal to do and make it efficient. I also then went through a couple rounds of interviews for our administrator, budget committee meetings, HRA meeting. I had also a couple meetings over the last 2 weeks with a couple of our state senators and Carver County commissioners, along with representatives from Bongards to try and move forward 212, the construction of the second phase of 212. We have some things planned for, there's a bonding tour coming up in the end of September, first part of October, and we're trying to have some big deal at Bongards to try and promote, to have the bonding tour is going to stop by there to look at 212 and try to get as many people there to show the importance of 212, but whether it's safety or economic development or just getting our people back and forth to the city. I also spent several days working with our ditches. Commissioner Wright talked about JD 18, the meeting we have coming up next week. I also have JD 8 in my district. That's going to be a big cleaning project, so we were out working with our contractors to make sure that goes properly. So I spent a couple days doing that. That brings us up to today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Sheila, anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No.
All right. Still have a few minutes, and I'd like to wait till 9:30, so Sheila, not to put you on the spot, but looks like we can take a couple of these things off the administration. So start with item A, please.
Thank you. Item A, consider approval to proceed with the plan review and permitting process with the City of Glencoe and the State of Minnesota for the construction of the McLeod County Government Center for a plan review and permitting fee not to exceed $60,000 with funds from the Government Center Fund 41-113. This fee will be paid in 2 separate payments, one to the City of Glencoe and one to Contegrity Group. Contegrity Group will then remit payment to the State of Minnesota through their online account. These fees will be paid toward the general conditions portion of the project and will be reflected in the construction financials. And to add that if for some reason the project were canceled, Sam Lauer shared that he believed that those permitting fees were refundable.
Okay. All right, any questions? What's the next step? All right, I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You'll keep going.
Item B or item C?
I think B is fine. Doug?
It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Item B, consider approval of Resolution 19 CB 36 dissolving Crow River Organization of Water.
Doug,
Mr.
you want to
Chair.
comment on that?
Yeah, I'll just, obviously, I sit on the Crow board. Over the last few years, One Watershed, One Plan has pretty much taken over all the water issues on the Crow. We were working as the fiscal host of this organization, and we lost our director and had some issues with her, and it just wasn't, it was just creating another layer of government, so we voted to dissolve. I feel good that One Watershed, One Plan, again, I hate to use the word, but it is what it is, but One Watershed, One Plan is something that's going to take over the whole state of Minnesota in different regions, and they have the capabilities of doing what they do. It kind of centralizes all our grants to, it simplifies them into one area. At any rate, we're moved to dissolve the Crow, and the monies that are left as we dissolve the organization by the end of the year, the monies that are left will be appropriated back out to the counties at the same percentage rate that they were put into the Crow. So there's a substantial amount of money that's there. Our portion obviously is smaller than some, but we will get our part of it back.
So you're recommending it?
I do recommend, and I'll move to approve the resolution.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Doug, you mentioned that there are some funds remaining in the Crow River Organization of Water. Do they have any obligation to refund any of that to any other state or federal agencies?
No, we've pretty much, we still have our director working for us, and we've been finishing up all our unfinished grants, getting them paid out the way they're supposed to be, and that's why I don't have a figure today. I actually tried to get an exact figure. We have a Crow meeting tomorrow. We have several meetings to wind this up, but no, to your point, we're cleaning all them obligations up and making sure all our projects are finished.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. It's 9:30. We'll go to our public hearing. I'm looking for a motion to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Wright.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mike?
We have received a petition from Mr. Ben King on behalf of one of his clients to vacate a portion of Old County Road 12. And what that really means is that about 25 years ago, County Road 12 came in from the Bell Lake area, directly adjacent to the golf course, and then exited onto Highway 15 on 5th Avenue Northwest. Is that right, Joe?
Probably. Yep.
And back then, we moved County Road 12 north and east about a half a mile. So it now comes out at the outpost on Highway 15. This petition involves a part of the road that we no longer use as a road. And the petition is a request that we vacate that, and then it would revert back to that landowner. And I think Mr. King ought to be called upon so that he can make his presentation about what he's requesting.
All right. Ben, just anybody that speaks regarding this, just remember the mics, pull them close to you. It's hard for us to hear up here, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Need a little bit of help from Ms. Danielson to get set up here, if you'll.
Got to get your mics in, Claude. I apologize, but you got to get up to the mics in order for us to hear.
Okay. While she's doing this, does anybody have any objections to me using the laser pointer for the audience?
We're going to move over against it. I'm going to just stare at you. I got this. Turn that around. Turn the monitor on. So we're just getting our monitors turned on up here, Ben.
I can't see it. Oh, there, I got it.
It's on.
Good.
Okay, I think we're ready when you are, I guess.
All right. Good morning. As I've been introduced, my name is Ben King, and I'm here on behalf of the petitioners, Mr. and Mrs. Jelkin. They live at 1220 Oakwood Avenue in Hutchinson, Minnesota, which is this red dot here on this Google map image that I have on the screen in front of you. As Mr. Young said, this is where County Road 12 currently traverses. And Old County Road 12 used to go up through here and then cut through. This is Fairway Estates First Edition and Second Edition, and then of course here is the Crow River Golf Club. And Old County Road 12 used to come up through here and then come out on Coghlan Road and then north to Bell Lake. And a closer view of that. Is here on the McLeod County Highway right-of-way plat number 29. Here is, again, where the County Road 12 currently sits. It cuts through here. This is Gulf Coast Road that I'm pointing at now, and then comes out through here and then up to Bell Lake. Old County Road 12 used to come up through here and traverse up through what is now Coghlan Road. And the piece of property that we're talking about today is this 33 feet by approximately 340 feet on the north edge of the Jelkins property, which is here in Lot 10 of the Oakwood addition. And here's the golf course. This is Mr. and Mrs. Jurgensen's property here. It's currently a vacant lot. And again, County Road 12 used to come up through here and go out through here. And in the 1990s, most of County Road 12 was completely vacated. But for whatever reason, this portion right here has been missed. And according to Minnesota statute 163.13, any person who owns real estate in a county may petition the county board to establish, alter, or vacate a county highway. If after investigation and after a public hearing of all interested persons, the board grants a petition, it shall proceed as provided in the Minnesota statute 163.11 subdivision 4. And the relevant part of that statute states that when a newly established county highway is open for travel, which takes the place and serves the same purpose as any portion of another county highway, the county board may vacate such portion of the highway by resolution. The relocated highway takes place of and serves the same purpose as the highway, the current highway. And therefore, the board may vacate this portion that we're talking about here to the north edge of the Jelkins property. This portion that we're talking about is not useful for the purpose for which it was laid out. It is not in public use, save for some public utilities that are currently owned by the city of Hutch, which would remain should the county board vacate this portion of the Old County Road 12. And it will not deprive any members of the public access to any areas within the plat, either to Fairway Addition or the Oakwood Addition. The Fairway Addition is here to the north, Oakwood is here to the south. Here's a zoomed out version. Again, here's the Fairway Estates, here's the Oakwood Addition. To vacate this portion will not deny any members of the public access to either one of those plats. Access to the golf course can be achieved by the current road that everybody uses to get into the golf course. The northerly 33 feet of this highway has already been vacated. So normally when a highway is 66 feet, and it was 66 feet in this case, and when they vacated all of it, the northerly 33 feet was vacated to the developers that platted Fairway Estates Second Edition. But for whatever reason, the southerly 33 feet to the north edge of the Jelkins property was not vacated. And under Minnesota law, when you vacate the whole highway, both 33 feet. So the property owners on either side of a highway take the 33 feet to the center line once a road is vacated. And for whatever reason, this portion has been missed. And so should the county decide to grant this petition, it wouldn't be setting any precedents, it would just be fixing a mistake that was made 25 years ago, not to vacate the whole 66 feet, and instead only vacating the northerly 33 feet of Old County Road 12. And again, it has long been Minnesota law that the owner of property abutting a platted street hold the fee interest to the center line that lies between the lot line of the property and the center line. As platted of the abutting street. And again, this undeveloped portion is no longer serving a public purpose. The relocated highway saves the same purpose as Old County Road 12, and therefore the Jelkins humbly request that you grant their petition. I'll take any questions at this time.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. King, what we're talking about, right now the highway right-of-way includes that parallel wedge there along the Jelkin property. But if the right-of-way is changed, the right-of-way, what I'm looking for is the right-of-way line for the existing County Road 12. That would just continue that curvature.
Correct.
Along that north boundary of their property.
Correct. I can show you the plat here.
That's not County Road 12.
So as you can see here.
Sorry for. So when you point up there, we don't see that.
Oh, sure.
So forgive us.
Sorry.
We're blind.
It'd be super cool if it was.
So here is Lot 10. This is where the Jelkins property is. And here is where Old County Road 12 is. Here is the current curvature of Highway 12 as it currently traverses. So this is also called Golf Course Road. It goes down to Highway 7 up through here and then out to, this portion here is Highway 76, and then once it reaches here, it turns into Highway 12, and then up to Bell Lake, and then it turns into a different county highway.
The curve is the, actually golf course road.
Correct.
Okay.
And Commissioners, the simple reason as to why this wasn't vacated is that the Jelton property was platted prior to the moving of the road. The other properties were platted after the moving of the road, since the road went through what they platted. So it wasn't a mistake that was made back then. It just wasn't vacated. And this is an area, it's really unusual in that we actually own the land rather than just have an easement to it. And this is one of about two areas where I've seen where we actually own the land.
Can somebody talk about the utilities again? There is some utilities under there?
Well, and as a part of our road construction, we typically require the utilities to build within our easement, and they do so. And I believe that there are utilities that are in the area that they're requesting to vacate. I believe Mr. King has stated that they will make accommodation for that. What the concern gets to be is that in the course of the 25 years, other rights to that property may have been created, such as golf carts going to and from the residences that are to the north and east and the golf course. And I think you'll hear about that more later.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, I actually went out and looked at it, but the only thing that you could do a better job explaining, if you take the whole right-of-way of the whole old road, what we're talking about today for your client is the center of the 60. Is that correct? I mean, I'm a little unclear on that line. When I looked at it, I mean, as far as I could see to the west, it's already been done. I mean, and I'm a little unclear to the lot to the north. I mean, obviously they pick up their share of the right-of-way then too. Is that correct?
Correct. So, Commissioner Kruger, so here is Fairway Estates First Edition. And as you can see, the platted Old County Road 12 is still running through here on the plat. Okay. When Fairway Estates Second Edition was platted some years later, County Road 12 was vacated and moved up to the north. And as this, each property owner on the other side took 33 feet to the center line. So from the golf course's edge of their property to the center line, they took that 33 feet. From the developers of Fairway Estates, they took the northerly 33 feet to the center line. So from their property edge to the center line, that's approximately 33 feet on either side. So 66 feet in total. And then, like Mr. Young said, Oakwood Additions was previously platted beforehand. And so for whatever reason, when the entire county highway got vacated, there was no resolution made for the Jelkins property to the north. So so the Jurgenson's property to the north.
Just to help you just a little bit, I guess what I'm unclear of, what I meant was, when I looked at it, it was hard to find the line, is what all I was really saying.
Sure.
And that was, I actually think precedence has been set already, but it was hard to see what the line really would be at the end of the day, because I looked at the utilities were marked, and that's the only question that I had left, is I did not know where that exact line was, because if I look down through the golf course, there's some white stakes set already, but I don't know if they were officially set. I can't tell if that's the real property line, but it'll follow all that contour if we approve this, is what you're saying.
Correct. And then if I may speak to Mr. Young's point about maybe some other rights that people have created over the years. According to Minnesota statute 541, just want to make sure we've got 541.01, the public can't take any rights away from the county by way of any adverse possession. That's against Minnesota statute. So to suggest that other people may have rights to this by way of some sort of prescriptive easement or adverse possession, it just simply can't be according to Minnesota statute.
Well, Mr. Chair, it caught my eye right away because when they did the curb and gutter, they didn't put a driveway in it. I mean, obviously, the thought was that it wasn't going to be used to drive through. And I mean, the sidewalks are there, there's no driveways. And I see they started another route through the other lot. There's another trail through there. I mean, it's the old saying, when nobody owns it, nobody takes care of it. It doesn't look very good either, so.
Right.
All right, Mr. King, any more for right now?
I have nothing further unless there's
Okay.
any more questions from the commission.
And there may be, but, so
Okay.
stay ready. But I'd like to give the opportunity for other people to speak. I know Mr.
Thank you.
Jurgensen's here. He's the owner of the other lot. Do you have anything you want to bring up, sir? And just when you come up, just give your name and probably that address.
Yes, thank you. Ryan Jurgensen. I own the adjacent lot. I do think the reason it was left as is originally was to access the golf course. I don't think it was a mistake. And if it were up to me, I would just leave it as is, because there's a lot of traffic coming through there. And I think, excuse me, the city redid the curb and gutter just a few years ago, and that they, in my opinion, mistakenly did not leave adequate access. I put the trail through my lot, and now you can't use it because there's no way to get up on the curb. So my view would be to just leave it as is. Thank you.
All right, thank you. In an effort to stay organized here, anybody from the golf course want to speak to this at all? You don't have to.
Yeah, my name's Ryan Heining. I'm the Vice President of the Crow River Golf Course Board.
Just a second, sir.
Let's
Mike.
wait until this is done.
All right, thank you.
So as I was saying, my name's Ryan Heining. I'm the Vice President of the Golf Course Board, and I'm here with Mr. Parsons, our General Manager and PGA Pro. We're here just representing our membership, trying to understand what the challenges are. But for us, it's all about access to the course. And before any decisions are made, we'd like to strongly consider that with our membership and try to present you, I guess, our perspective to look at this. Obviously, there's some statutes that we're dealing with, but you know, if we could postpone this decision until 30 or 60 days, we would appreciate that as an organization. I don't think we came fully prepared for this, and it would be appropriate if we could ask for that. It does impact our business and our members.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question, but it does not, I mean, it doesn't stop access. I mean, there's still regular access points where that could be gotten on.
Well, I think if you close off that access, which is a very natural, if you went out and looked at it, you certainly saw it's a very natural access down to number 4. So for folks that are across the street in the cul-de-sac, folks that are coming from Heritage Avenue, that would be a primary way for them to get to the golf course. Your alternative is you've got to drive through some busy streets that have children, you know, other areas that are going to create safety issues. They have to drive all the way around to take our main road into the golf course, it's probably 3/4 of a mile to a mile journey by golf cart on a road. So for the safety of our members and access, this is right now the best way those folks can access that course.
But having said that, I mean, and I'm just looking for different options, so don't get me wrong, but if the petitioner is granted what they want, there's still that lot for Mr. Jurgensen. I mean, you could develop, there's still room to develop another trail. I mean, in my opinion, I looked at it, right, and and it looks like it's probably an easy access, but nobody's taking care of it. I mean, obviously weeds were sprayed when I got there, but I mean, but there is, what I'm trying to get at is if there's wiggle room here, you could actually grant what the petitioner wants, and there's still room to make another nice access to your golf course. Is that
I
right?
would agree with you, and that's some of, sorry.
No, and I just
Attorney.
want to, it's not official, I just want to hear what our options are.
Sure, and I think options would be prudent to look at. I think there are many options. One, the golf course is currently taking care of all of that easement, if you will, up into the other property owner's area. And it wouldn't take much for our maintenance team to go ahead and maintain that. So if it's a maintenance issue, I think that's easily resolved with our staff and our capabilities to mow that. I think it was stated it was 430 feet, 33 feet wide. That will take less than 15 minutes for our machines to take care of that. There should be other solutions looked at, for example, putting some signage out there. Caution golf cart crossing. It is marked for pedestrian crossing there, but adding a sign that says golf cart crossing might be appropriate from a safety perspective. But yeah, that access there would be important, and if we can address the petition as well as maintaining access for our members, that would be the ultimate best solution.
But so I can understand, while you're still up here, but the golf course, being a number of years ago, gained their access back. I mean, they ain't great. When this road was abandoned, they got the landowners down there, the houses, the lots, and the golf course got their 33 feet. Is that correct?
Yeah, but that's not the subject of what
No,
we're
but I
talking
mean,
about.
precedence has been set. I mean, if I look down, and I'm just looking, I'm trying to get a handle on this, and
I think what the real issue is that if you look at Mr. Jurgens' lot, if you grant this petition, he does not have access without going over private property to the golf course with a golf cart.
And that, again, so I understand in my head, that's something that could be resolved. I mean, you're talking, you can get it, I walked it, I mean, you can get just a few feet of this petitioner's property would open up a road, lack of a better word, to get in there.
Let me add a couple things, if I may, excuse me. Prior to approval of anything like this, we are going to have to locate where the utilities are. We are going to have to require that there be a reservation of utility easements. And one of the additional options that you would have is to say that we also ought to be able to designate an area where those carts can go, and then restrict it to whatever that area might be.
Well, I would assume, and I'm not that I'm for this, but I would assume there's other, if we own the property, I suppose we could put it in our parks and department and take care of it, maintain it ourselves, but I don't think that I want to add into that budget, but I mean, that would be an option.
Well, and you also have a volunteer, the golf course is saying that they'll take care of it.
Okay.
But you have options other than to just accept the petition or to deny the petition. And it would make sense that you recess this or table this for 30 or 60 days as is requested, so you could explore what those options are. I don't know where the utilities are in there, but if we were to grant the petition as is today, there would be no utility easements on that area, and there very well may be utilities there. I don't know.
Mr. Chair, Mike, I would totally agree. That's the border, the actual line, I'm unclear of. The actual line, the utilities, that all should be marked in order to make a good decision. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would too. Go ahead, Paul.
Just a couple quick questions. So I've been aware of this for a while, and it isn't until you put some aerial maps together and you kind of see what it looks like that some other questions come to mind. But so it is county-owned property.
Correct.
And so in order to transfer ownership of that, I thought we always had to put that up for public bids. We can't just give that to anybody or anything, can we?
Well, this statute is an alternate way of disposing of property.
Okay.
Can you,
Always another way. Okay.
can you explain to me how it worked 20 years ago? So
Yeah.
I get the golf course got a chunk of it, and then the homeowners got a chunk along basically Heritage, the backside of Heritage.
I don't know that the 33 feet was ever deeded in any way to the golf course.
Okay?
I do know that we did a quitclaim deed, and I believe it was M&L, was it M&L Properties, Mr. King? Or M&L Estates or something like that. We did a quitclaim deed to them, and in return, they then platted it and had a utility easement for the 10 feet that are on the boundary for utilities. So those kind of went hand in hand.
So the white stakes are where the ball goes out of bounds, right?
Well, the white stakes are that guy's fault.
Right.
And he's the one that places those, and they have nothing to do with the actual property.
And that was tongue in cheek, but was what I was trying to get at. That's not a true.
Yeah, that's the out of bounds marker
Yep.
for the golf course, and the rules that the golf course had don't
Right.
dictate
Yep.
what the rules are.
So if there's no further questions for me, we would have, for all these reasons, again, our head groundskeeper's been there over 43 years, so he went through this entire process. So obviously getting him involved and pulling out that, we can answer some of those detailed questions on our behalf. But we would like to find the right solution for everyone involved. We just think at least another 30 or 60 days before a final decision's made on this petition would be appropriate.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
we're.
Mr. Chair, if I can, Randy Brewer worked for Hutchtel, which is now the Nuvera. Are there utilities that are in this area, do you know? Can you come up, Randy? And give your name?
I can tell you that at least 3 utilities use that access from that corner that we're talking about to get to their utility boxes and stuff. The cable TV, Mediacom, Hutchinson Telephone, and Hutchinson Utilities all use that access to get to those boxes when they need to get there to do any kind of service.
And could you give your name, please?
Give your name. Further.
Pardon?
Just give your name for the record, please. Say who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Randy Brewer, and I used to work for the Hutchinson Telephone Company, retired now, and I live in that area. And I do use that access to get onto the golf course. Otherwise, I would have to drive all the way down to Coghlan Road or all the way out to School Road to get access to the golf course.
All right, so there's an effort to stay organized here, which it seems like it's getting away from us. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board on this matter? All right, I do think it's reasonable that, Mr. King, did you have anything further? Yes, please. Sorry, I didn't mean to overlook you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple, we did set this on 30 days out for a public hearing. There was sufficient notice for everybody to take a look at this. So it's disappointing to us that the golf course is just coming now to present any sort of solutions. We certainly would have been open when it was set for public hearing. So that's disappointing to us. As far as the utility access of things, we all have utility easements around our property lines. And so, to suggest that access is going to be cut off if you grant this petition is kind of silly. Of course, the utility easements would still remain. The utility companies would still be able to gain access to this just like they can for all other utility easements. And as far as this other access issue, everybody that doesn't live around the golf course has to use the same entrance or the normal entrance. I forget the name of the street that's through there, but we all have to use that access point. We don't just use special routes to the golf course just because we want to. We know that that's where the access to the golf course is. We start on hole 1 or hole 10, depending on how they're taking play that day. And so to grant special access to a few people, it just seems silly to us. And so we thank you for your consideration of this, and we look forward to your decision.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
My couple of questions that I still have is, okay, if I seem to agree with actually locating the utilities and actually getting a marker, a marker of where that center line really is, who pays for that?
Well, if you want to pay it out of your own pocket, you are free to do that. I don't think the citizens of McLeod County ought to pay for it. So I think that whoever is making the request ought to be responsible for that.
And this is where I run into some problems, and I'm not quite sure that I understand. I mean, if the golf course or whoever, I have some paperwork here that did a quick claim deed and got their property and didn't have to jump through all these hoops, I realize that the petitioner has to pay her lawyer and has to pay for all this. I mean, I don't know that that's exactly fair either. I mean, so I mean, and I don't know. I'm just making statements that I don't know.
As far as fairness goes, this petitioner purchased a lot and a home, and nothing has been taken away from them. So they're asking for something above and beyond what they originally purchased. They're asking for an additional 33 feet by whatever that is.
Okay, then, and I'm serious.
So they are getting a
I'm
benefit.
serious about this question. What's the difference? I own a road, I mean, I own my lot on County Road 2, and and I pay taxes out to the middle of the road, well, if the county abandons County Road 2 and I get my land, does that mean I don't get my land back?
No, this
What's
is
the difference?
This is one of the rare times where the county actually owns the land. I hadn't seen it, Mr. King pointed it out. I had not seen this, but I've seen it once since then. So most of our county roads, all we get is an easement. If we ever abandon the road, it automatically goes back to the landowner. But you also get a reduction in your taxes because that is deemed non-productive land, and the county assessor makes adjustment for that.
I just wanted to know what the difference, I realized I just got an easement, I just didn't understand the difference. But my concern, I don't mind, I see we're considering extending this out, and I don't mind. Maybe that is the right thing to do because I don't know where the property lines and the utilities are, but I'm bothered by the cost of the petitioner, but I would caution then that all parties concerned put their heads together and figure something out before we lay a lot of money into this, but that's just my opinion. Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Young, is this parcel landlocked in terms of, does the golf course road right-of-way tie into this parcel, or does this parcel stop at the right-of-way for the golf course road?
This parcel stops at the right-of-way to Golf Course Road.
Okay.
Right now, the legal ownership of that 33 feet is with McLeod County.
Okay. And yet we have no other adjacent property to that parcel that I could anticipate?
It loosely ties in with the old County Road 12, which remains a city street, and which the city now has jurisdiction over, but very loosely. I mean, it was part of a system, and it's now kind of a backwater, so to speak.
All right. Mr. Young, what gives me a little, not really discomfort, but concern is this is a county-owned property, but yet it's being utilized for a private enterprise if we would to maintain that as an avenue to the golf course. And that's my concern is that.
Well, it's a private enterprise if you give it back to the petitioner as well. True.
Okay.
And I should be honest that I'm a member of that golf course, so if there's any question about that. And I play there about once or twice a week maybe, or whatever.
The difference would be and my belief is that the parcel probably should be, disposed of probably for a price, for a fee, sell it off as a parcel, but.
Mr. Chair, is there anybody that can give a number as to what it would cost to do the location work on whatever utilities are underneath there?
Well, I think that the three utilities could each be contacted at very little cost, and they could say what they have where. As far as doing a survey of that, you're probably talking $500 to $1,000.
Okay.
John, do you have anything? Sorry, Paul.
Oh, go ahead,
John
John.
was
John can say something.
And prior to John saying anything, they locate the utilities where they do at our request. So if we leave them in the lurch, we are doing them a disservice.
Yeah,
Go
my
ahead,
comment
John.
was gonna be that with the Gopher State One Call system, you know, they're obligated to locate those utilities. It'd be no different if a private person was digging a fence in, or if we, you know, we're locating for, road construction projects. We could put in a Gopher Call request for that old plat or current old right-of-way, and,
See
and
what it
then
looks
we'd have it mapped. Or we could reach out and probably get their, I'm sure we can get their mapping too, so.
So honestly, what makes this so complicated is that we own the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting that, but Mr. Chair, is our GIS department able then to give us an exact place where that boundary line is?
You might
I mean,
ask
can they
them.
actually show it, can they stake, I mean, we should be able to do that in-house then, and we should be able to stake
Well,
where the
we-
property corners are. There is none out there,
Officially, I'd say we'd
everybody's
have to
guessing.
go to the registered land surveyor, but with the information we have on all that property in that old easement, I would say is very accurate. But officially, we should go to registered land surveyor, I would think, to get that, you know, platted, or get that.
Well,
laid
again,
out.
looking at a map shows me that, it gives me an idea, but it doesn't tell me where, you know, it doesn't do the mechanics of whether there's room for this, that, or the other. It just doesn't show me that. You know what I mean, a stake, they're talking about having access into in the back end on the west side. I can't tell by looking at it.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go
Ryan
ahead.
Jurgensen again. There's actually storm sewer intakes. That's right on the corner of the boundary. They define the boundary on both sides.
That intake is the corner?
Yes.
Okay.
I think at this point, so we own the property and we need information because right now we're guessing and we can't, how can we make a good decision without having some solid data in front of us? I can agree with the comment that is it fair that the county pays for some of the work being done there and fair gets to be a rough thing to handle up here. But we do need information and we have to have that in order to move forward, in my opinion. And because it's county property, I think we should be prepared to put some money into that. I have a feeling that from here, we're going to be making some decisions on whether we agree with the petition, whether we work with the golf course, whether somebody works on a maintenance agreement, or whether there's other reasons that have not come before us why we should take a different action. But we need more information, more than what we have in front of us today. First, I have a couple motions, and I'm going to finish with one at table for 60 days, but in the meantime, we need information. And so my first motion is going to be to have a not to exceed $1,000 for data that we need, including the utilities that are underneath there to be located.
Under the direction of the Public Works?
Yep.
All right.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Kruger to supply funds to the Public Works Department or out of the Public Works Department, not to exceed $1,000 to gain information, including utility locations, right?
Correct.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I do.
Yes.
The reason I seconded it, or reason, we need that information regardless. I mean, it should have been done before. It should be staked so we know whose is whose and what's what. It's pretty hard to make a decision if we don't have that.
John, any questions on that before we go through it? Because it's going to fall under you. So, all right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to table this matter for 60 days.
Second. One thing prior to the second, because if you table it right now, the public hearing is still open, and that's fine if that's what you want. The other option that you have is to close the public hearing now and then table your action. And I think that you're probably better off tabling now while you're still in open session and then reset the public hearing for about 30 days out. But that's the choice that you have.
Mr. Chair, was the $1,000 motion, was that in order? I forgot we were in.
It was into the
Yep,
public.
that's
That was fine, but at least, right? That was okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Is there any harm?
The issue is whether you want to have the public hearing continued to your table date.
I say yes. I think we have
Okay.
more to do that, so
I would
you do it. Start over.
Just reinstate my motion to table them for 60 days, or the board meeting that is closest to that.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So,
Can we get a specific date and time, please?
So, Mr. Chair, Mike, again, are we then continuing this open to
Yes.
the same time? Okay.
so the 60 days are the closest board meeting to at
October 15th, I believe.
October 15th at 9:30 a.m. Liz, you got that? All right, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
No.
Oh, no, I don't.
Can't.
Sorry. So we just go. Move on. Thank you, I'm sorry. All right, anybody need a break or you guys?
Yes.
All right, let's have a 5-minute recess, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
the meeting date would be October 22nd, I believe.
October 20, okay.
October
Ladies and gentlemen, October 22nd, we had the date wrong, so October 22nd. Okay.
So just so we're clear, and before everybody leaves, Mike, we do that, when it's continued or recessed like this, we don't have to go through all that notice, just so everybody that's here understands that.
No, we don't have to go through the public hearing.
Sorry.
Very temporarily. I thought I was going to do it. Well, they're right now, I think. But they're here. Starting the whole half of this day. It's half of it. Yeah, yeah. And then, yes, they usually leave. But yeah, I saw you and I don't. Yeah. Nobody knows. You're just in the corner. Oh, but good to see you. I wanted to say hi. Yep.
Yeah, you'll have to find out about that as you're moving out. Yeah, right. No, I don't know. So are you living in Lakeville? What's your name? I'm Lori Sylvester.
You coming to our meeting tomorrow night? Association of Townships, District 4?
Oh, no.
Here's there.
Okay.
Check your
order.
If I can find where we're at. Health and Human Services. Good morning, Julie. Thanks for waiting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Julie Erickson with the Health and Human Services. I'm here today to request that the board authorize one of two resolutions to request mediation with the Minnesota Department of Human Services regarding the selection of health plans for medical assistants in McLeod County who are, I'm sorry, let me back up. For medical assistants eligible residents in McLeod County who are 65 years or older. And first, I want to apologize for the piecemeal way that you got all of this information. There's been a lot of moving parts, and the deadline for us to request mediation with DHS is August 15th. So this was the only board meeting where we had the opportunity to get in front of you, so I needed to get things to you before I had everything that I needed as well. So the background for this is that every 3 to 5 years, the Department of Human Services publishes a request for proposals to provide health care services to recipients of medical assistance. This is true even for counties that have county-based purchasing, and that includes McLeod County. Counties are part of the process to review the proposals that DHS gets, but ultimately it is their determination as to which health plans that the counties are going to contract with. This year, McLeod County was included in the bidding process that DHS was doing for this, for both our families and children's programs and for the senior programs. The Health and Human Services, we were satisfied with the results for families and children. However, we do have concerns regarding some of the health plans selected for our 65-plus population, again, folks who are eligible for medical assistance. Because of these concerns, we would like to utilize the mediation process that DHS has in place. And so this request, basically McLeod has two options, the commissioners have two options here. One, the first option is that the board could pass a resolution very generally authorizing Health and Human Services to request mediation with DHS. In that situation, we would have our county attorney represent us at that mediation, and the mediation would be for McLeod County only. The second option is a resolution to retain a law firm to represent McLeod County, along with several other counties who are also dissatisfied with the selection process this year. That law firm would then handle the mediation, and this resolution was discussed at the meeting that Commissioner Szymanski and Commissioner Pohlmeier attended last week that they mentioned earlier in their updates. That meeting was attended by all 24 counties that are part or want to be part of Prime West, and all counties there agreed to bring the resolution before their respective boards. So the two potential resolutions were not part of the packet for this meeting. I did provide them to the commissioners before the meeting, and along with other documentation that we didn't have before the deadline for the agenda items. So I do have copies available that I gave to the commissioners this morning, and for those in attendance, those copies are up by the agenda if others want to have a copy as well. So there's one final caveat before we have this discussion, and that is that DHS has very strict confidentiality surrounding the request for proposal process. That means that we're not allowed to discuss specifics about the bids that they received or even who the bidders were in an open meeting. So if you believe that you need some of those specifics to make decisions, then we would need to request to have a closed meeting for that portion of the discussion.
Mike, you got anything to add?
The timeline being as tight as it is, first of all, the notification of the award or the intended award was given on July 26th. And any appeal has to be filed by August 15th. And then the mediation is going to be taking place September 19th through the 24th. The 26th of September is when the mediation panel makes recommendations to the DHS commissioner, and September 30th is when the final decision is going to be made. Now, I would be surprised if they stick with that timeline, but that's what they have said that they intend to do. As far as having a closed meeting, I don't really think that you have enough right now to talk about with regard to the closed meeting. I mean, this is a really in the weeds kind of an issue, and we're talking about minor things. We were talking yesterday. One of the plans requires a provider within 30 miles, whereas other plans require a provider within 60 miles. And that's the kind of nuanced stuff that is going to be talked about in the mediation process. So I don't think you want to have a closed meeting today. If you want to have one at your next board meeting, we could probably put together something for you at that time to get you more up on where we're at. You do definitely need to decide today whether or not you are going to ask for mediation. And I think that the unanimous recommendation of all your staff, and me included, is that we do ask for mediation. Then the question is do you want to go with the rest of Prime West, or do you want to go on your own? It's been a concern of mine that we lose focus on the fact that this is all about the clients that we have. It's not about Prime West. Prime West is the tool. And if Prime West is the best tool, great. But it's really about the client's needs and the client's services and them being provided with the services that they need.
Ron?
Mr. Chairman, Mike had alluded to the timeline on this, and I've been on the Prime West Health Joint Powers Board for 6.5 years now, and the DHS, Department of Human Services at the state, has been kind of a challenge for us to deal with in terms that this procurement was submitted in May. I believe in May it was over 1,300 pages of their request for procurement sent to the DHS. They were supposed to have a response back to the health plans by mid-July, and it was 25th of July, I believe, when the final result came out, which shortened up our timeline considerably. The other thing is that they set the date of August 15th for appeals, and we coincidentally had a Prime West Joint Powers Board meeting last Thursday. That was the regularly scheduled meeting. We invited in all of the current 13 county members for Prime West, plus the 11 expansion counties that are requesting to join Prime West in 2020. So this directly affects those other 11 counties as well. So the resolution that we as a Joint Powers Board put together on behalf of the members and clients of Prime West is before us today as Resolution 19 CB 39 to retain a law firm that would represent all the member counties in total rather than each individual county taking up the cause independently. So that is what I would like to advocate for today, but I would like to ask Julie and Lori for some more background information in the process.
Well, this is Lori Snagusky. I'm one of the supervisors from Health and Human Services. At this point, I agree with Mike Young about it being in the weeds. We need more information. We need more information about how this decision was made, why this recommendation was made, and what exactly this is going to mean bottom line for the residents of McLeod County. So approving us to request mediation will allow us to do that at this point without requiring us to agree to do whatever each health plan, what they have available. It'll help us weed through the pros and cons of all of that. So that's
Okay.
why the request for mediation, I think, is appropriate.
Thank you, Lori. If I may just interject, McLeod County was one of the original founding partners of Prime West. When in 1998, when it was organized, it was Pipestone, Renville, Meeker, and McLeod County. They called the organization Prime Health or something of that order. And before it was totally organized, they partnered with the counties up in west central Minnesota. And thus we became a 10-member organization, 10 counties participating. And, Bev Wangren, our former county board member, served as chairman of the Prime West Board in many years while she was commissioner for McLeod County. So this is kind of near and dear to the hearts of McLeod County. We have a lot of history, and, my emphasis is that we joined for the mutual benefit of all the member counties, and thus we need to preserve that unity in our going forward in this appeal process as well. We have in our packet that was distributed to the board members today lots of information. I don't think we can take all the time we need to discuss it all here today, but a determination is essential. We all agree that we need to go to mediation. It's just which process we choose to mediate. And from that point, I think it's the discussion we had at the Prime West meeting was that we have to stick together as member counties, because otherwise DHS, as the massive agency that it is, will pick us apart one by one, and that's one thing we really don't want, because once we start chipping away at the foundation of our organization, then we lose effectiveness. The client services that we provide, Lori, you have staff working as case managers for Prime West that they know the system, they help the clients, they're getting the best effective health care, most cost effectively as possible. And if we end up with our neighbors from the big health maintenance organizations, what do you anticipate? Does that change the workload in your office? Does that kind of interrupt the streamlined process that you have going now?
That's part of the unknown. A lot of the health plans we would be then responsible for more health plans versus just one. My concern is the benefit set, that what's going to be available to those members with the other health plans. Are they even going to have a provider within 60 miles? That's my concern. But I do agree working with the Prime West counties would help us, even if it's just to get the initial data to find out what's all being proposed, to get that in a timely manner and sorted through. So that's what I know.
So what I'm hearing is the mediation is necessary, and we need to decide on that today.
Correct.
Yes.
What I'm missing is, we have two resolutions. One is, help me with that part.
Okay.
So because I think we can get moving here.
Sure.
But 39 is working with Prime West, and the 40 is working on our own, or is it
Yeah.
oversimplifying it?
That's the way I would interpret it.
Okay, so, sorry, but which one should we do? We have to do it, but is somebody tell me why we should do one over the other?
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I agree. We do need to have a resolution of mediation. Sitting through the information, the law firm listed in CB 39 is a law firm that did have a successful mediation with DHS about 4 or 5 years ago with another county-based purchasing program that they were successful, so they do have a little of knowledge on what needs to be done and how to work through that system. I'm I have full confidence in our county attorney that he could do the same. I guess my dilemma and my question is, are we better working with a group of 24 counties, or are we better fighting it on our own? And I'm not sure which way is, I'm not sure exactly which way is the best, but I do know that we need to do something, and I may be leaning a little bit to the using the outside law firm simply because of their response and ability to work through the DHS system in the past. And that's the only reason.
Okay, so you didn't answer my question. Mike, what do you think?
I think you definitely have to go ahead with approval to ask for mediation.
Okay.
Whether you hire a private law firm to represent you and you throw in with Prime West, that's your choice. It's less work for me, it's easier for me. So do I care? I care in the fact that I get concerned when we have things that become an end unto themselves. Prime West is just a tool, much like our HATS building is just a tool. It's there to provide service for our constituents. And if everything is focused on our constituents, great. I think that's the right focus. If it's focused on Prime West, then I think that we're totally off base, because then we're a part of the problem. And I heard Commissioner Szymanski talk about DHS as if they are the enemy. And they aren't the enemy. They are the funding source. They are the ones who have made a decision. We don't know why they made the decision that they made. And we would really like to find out why. They might have a silver bullet. I don't know. We haven't seen it, and we don't know why they did what they did. And we don't like the fact that they're requiring us to deal with it in secrecy, like they're requiring us to do. So DHS is doing some high pressure stuff, because they give you a decision on July 25th or 26th, and they give you 20 days in which to make a decision. That's not fair. It's not nice. We don't know what the impacts of it are yet. So that's what the issues are. Is there strength in numbers? Yes. The problem with the strength in numbers is that if you get a bad decision, it's bad for everybody. They aren't going to take into account the individual needs of McLeod County. And if it's an issue of whether it's a 30-mile radius for a provider or 60-mile, that affects McLeod County a lot. That might not affect Lincoln County very much at all. But it's your call.
Mr. Chair, just expanding on that, Mr. Young, is that's where I was going to go. If we, will these questions get answered if we join the other? I mean, I see two different things here. I don't necessarily, Prime West and DHS or whatever, but would that be beneficial for our departments and to do this mediation together? We still aren't bound to make that decision at the end of the day, are we? I mean, can we find more information efficiently that way or not?
Frankly, we don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We don't know what this process is going to be like. I have never been through a mediation like this. I've been through other mediations. So in a mediation session, you give your whys and wherefores. We don't know the whys and wherefores that the DHS has.
Again, I don't look at DHS like the enemy, but I don't like some of the, just like you said, I don't like some of the things they're doing. So I just want.
Well, this is all about choice. And choice in the metro area means one thing. Choice out here oftentimes means no choice. And that's where the problem gets to be. And I can't predict which way we're going to come out better.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I may ask Lori, Mr. Young mentioned the service area, the 30-mile or 60-mile radius. Can you just clarify that for us so that we understand? Do most of our clients get service where they need it, in this 30-mile or 60-mile radius, or what's the restriction, and where's the limit?
Currently, yes, that the health plan we're working with now, members can go up to 60 miles to find providers. Each health plan is a little different. Some have proposed different things. Typically, if somebody's not on a managed care and they're just on medical assistance, it's 30 miles. That's a state standard.
Okay, but you're saying a managed plan like what we have today offers them 60 miles of service area.
Right,
correct?
right. We're just concerned with the benefit set that we're seeing with the other health plans, but as far as, it sounds like you guys are at least agreeing to the mediation part of our resolution. The representation part of it,
Where are you at on that?
well, I know what they've given us so far is they'll give us a 1,000-page plan for each, the information is going to be a significant amount, and for us to weed through that on our own and catch everything that we need to make this go, I'm concerned about that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I've got a question for both Julie and Lori. Okay, if our clientele is given, or who makes a decision on whether it is Plan A or Plan B when you have multiple options out there as a case provider? Who makes those decisions on, okay, which one does Paul get, which one do I get?
People themselves are given a choice. However, most of the people end up going to whatever's set as default. When we have multiple plans, we don't get a say on what that default is chosen from McLeod County, so.
And that could mean additional paperwork, et cetera, for your case.
Well, it could mean people don't get what they need until they find out about another option. It's a complicated system.
Yes.
To navigate, definitely.
And to that, I will add, for members, if you're going out to look for a health plan and you have choice among several, the things that you would be looking at would be, are my doctors covered here within this plan? And what are the out-of-pocket costs to me in this plan? And I just want to make sure that we keep in mind for this discussion, we're talking about our medical assistance eligible population here, so the cost factor for them is not an issue in their decision for which health plan they would choose.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we would adopt Resolution 19 CB 39 to engage a law firm to represent the member counties of the Prime West organization, retaining Lockridge, Grindell, Nowlan, PLLP for legal services, and authorizing the challenge to the Department of Human Services contracting decision for certain state public health care programs.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion?
Just have a question on that.
Yes, go ahead, Paul.
So we are now joining the group effort then, correct? With this motion?
Yes.
And so during that.
No, we aren't joining the group. We are authorizing that law firm to act on behalf of McLeod County.
Okay, thank you for that correction. So, there's definitely power in numbers, but then there's also a point where you kind of lose a little bit of your voice in that as well. If during this process, when we're not satisfied with the results that are coming out of that, do we have the ability to handle it more of an independent structure, or are we committed down this path once we start?
Once you start a horse race, you really ought to stay on the same horse.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair, there is in the packet that I gave you this morning an agreement from the law firm, and I believe there's language in it that says at any point, if you're not satisfied or want to disengage, you can do so. But I would refer you to that document to get the exact language of how they've worded that.
Okay, and what is the length of this process assumed to be?
I'm sorry, did you say the length?
Just a month and a half?
Well, the decision, according to what DHS has sent out, says that they are going to have a decision made by the end of September.
Well, and this is for health insurance for folks for 2020, so the decisions certainly need to be made before the end of the year.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And I really appreciate Mr. Young, wanting to represent McLeod County independently. But
Excuse me, that's not what my request is.
Okay.
My request is that you ought to know the pros and the cons. It doesn't matter to me whether it's me or whether it's them. I don't take offense one way or the other. So
Okay.
I don't have a recommendation.
Okay, pardon me for misunderstanding that. In our packet that was handed out today is a request, a data practices request from the other law firm to the DHS for documents to discover some of the rationale and so forth. It's quite an extensive list, and my concern is that having this other law firm go through that process where they'll probably expend 200 to 300 hours in research and testimony, that if we go independently, we really need that same information and data, and that puts the burden on staff in McLeod County to assist in that process. And my concern, if we're concerned about in the residents of McLeod County, I appreciate that. They deserve the best service they can get, and I know that's where they're getting it now. But it's also a matter of dollars and cents. Lori kind of alluded to the fact that if you have multiple plans servicing county residents, her staff time is increased exponentially with the time required to interpret their plans and facilitate them. But I'm also concerned about the engagement letter that we have from the proposed attorney. The document says that there's a not-to-exceed figure of $100,000 for the fee associated with this. If it's divided among the member counties in the organization, that amounts to $4,000 to $5,000 per county. And I think that's a bargain that we should not pass up. Otherwise, I'm afraid our staff time could, greatly exceed that cost figure. And I really don't know that we have the expertise in-house that we need to research all of that data and be able to defend our position and make the strongest case possible in front of the mediation board.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm in reading through the letter from the attorney to the counties. It does say that any of the Prime West counties, individually and jointly, have the right to terminate LGN services at any time, and that they reserve the right to withdraw as well.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Doug.
And that's, both hearing that from Julie and now again, that's why I'm in support of it. As much data as we can get from as many people to make the right decision, to me, is the right way to go. And I bargain or not, it's just, we need the data.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next issue, really, that you ought to decide, though, is whether or not you want to have a closed meeting at any point regarding any of this. If you don't feel that you have the need for that, that's fine.
Well, and I guess we would, but, I mean, if we're going to get lost in the weeds until we figure out what's even going on, right? There's no need to set.
I would agree.
I mean, we're not, in my opinion, we're not there yet.
Okay.
All right? Is that okay with everybody?
That's agree with me.
All right. All right, excuse me, Public Works, going to go back to item A. Good morning, Al.
Morning.
I was worried about this being early. Well, no problem.
Dennis, sorry
It
about
turned
that.
out to be very late.
This is unbelievable.
No.
What I'm asking for is the board to sign a resolution in support of Phase 2, Grant 2, or however we want to state it. Grant 2 would be basically redoing the two bridges, getting the base built up, clearing the trail of trees up to County Road 4, from Lester Prairie to County Road 4. So basically, when this grant is done, we'll have a gravel trail and we'll be ready to prep it, and when that day comes, to asphalt it.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to start out on this one. Couple things. City of Hutch didn't pass a resolution that to support this particular document, and that's fine. They had their reasons. You can watch the video or read the transcript. But when I talked to Councilmember Cook about that, he wanted to clarify some issues. I said he could come to the meeting, but he wasn't able to. He has a statement. And Sheila, it's very short. Would you read that quick?
Sure. Dear County Commissioners, due to a prior commitment, I cannot attend your board meeting this morning, but I wanted to share a couple of comments about the proposed Dakota Trail grant application. First, I want to make it clear that the Hutchinson City Council's decision not to approve the letter of support for the grant was not a statement about the city's lack of support for the trail's development or our willingness to continue to partner with the county on the project. I made the motion at our council meeting to deny the letter of support for this grant because I felt that there are questions if there is a commitment to following the master plan that was previously submitted, specifically paving and extending the trail to Hutchinson. My concern was that by receiving funding for this section and then not following through on that plan, we would be harming the legacy program and the accountability of the GMRPTC. As an alternative, I would like to suggest that you still submit the grant application before you, but do it as a preliminary grant, not a final grant application. Ask that the GMRPTC review it and give written feedback on it, what is good, what needs to be improved, and what is missing, so a future application will have the best chance of being successful. Also, this would be a good time to ask about the importance of following the master plan that was submitted and what should be done if there are thoughts of deviating from that plan, as well as clarifying the concept of regional benefit. Sent by Steve Cook.
Okay, thank you, Sheila.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Could I get a clarification? What's the difference between preliminary and final? I mean, I know what the definition of the words are, but I didn't quite follow that.
To me, this is the Phase 2 of the total project. Phase 1 will be completing pretty quick. That would the bridge, the asphalt. Sure. Anyway, this one, Phase 2, and at a workshop we discussed different ways we could apply for a grant. One was to do the total grant and asphalt it all the way to Hutchinson. One was to fix a bridge and go to South Silver Lake. So, and this is what the board informed us what to do or how to complete this next grant. If you want to, it's not the final grant. I told Mr. Cook that in my eye, the board has not told me or told John or whoever that we are not going to pave the trail. When that day comes and the board says we are not going to pave it, then I have to go before Greater Minnesota Trails and say we're changing our trail plan to state that we are not asphalting it. As of right now, that hasn't been stated. I know he told me I was naive thinking that, but I'm just going off of what, at the last couple workshops, we've never stated we're not paving it. I'm sorry, we were stating this is the next step to the project, to complete the project.
Mr. Church, thanks, Al, because that's where I was going. I mean, I'm not a trails guy. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm not a trails guy, but I thought it's our due diligence as a board to work on a compromise. Commissioner Wright and I have both been working with landowners and different people. I thought this was a step forward. That's why I didn't know what you meant by preliminary or final. I don't know how, I mean, what are you gonna, I don't know how it could possibly be final. It's just another step. I like the way you put it. I mean, it's another step. We have landowners that are concerned about water, bridges, whatever, not safe. Like it or not, it's there. I just thought it was another step. It didn't have county funding attached to it, if I'm understanding right. You know, so it's just, I thought it was a good move forward and a compromise, so that's just me.
The statement is there is no, we could have put money involved in at that workshop, you said no, so we have got zero for matching money.
And again, saying that, it's just due diligence. I mean, we have budgets, we have a lot of work to do, and again, I don't want to put any words in Commissioner Wright's mouth, but I thought this was a good compromise to move forward.
Is it, the workshop, we talked more about Nickel Avenue, not County Road 4. What changed from that workshop to the application?
To stop at County Road 4, because the County Road 4 is a tar road there.
Okay, but we did talk, I wasn't dreaming that, right?
Yes,
we talked about Nickel and coming that. Okay, I get it, but I just wanted to make sure, because it just seemed like that. And what's the story on the deadline? The deadline was the 1st, but they said if what we do today, they'll take it?
I can go over it quickly with you. I made a mistake. I did not, when I looked at the calendar, I saw 5 Tuesdays and my brain didn't kick it in that we didn't have one last week.
And I apologize, I wasn't looking to call you out. I just wanted to make sure what.
And what I did was, we've turned in the grant to Greater Minnesota on Friday.
Okay.
With the understanding that if the board does not sign the resolution today, it gets pulled out.
Okay, and again.
So there is no, it's in there to let us get the ability to try for it, but
It's dependent on the day. Again, I apologize, it wasn't to call you out.
No,
I just wanted to
made a
make sure where we
mistake.
were at.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
And I too, I'm not calling anybody out, but I mean, this has been an ongoing debate through workshops and whatever, and now we're fumbling around. I'm a little disappointed in that we just didn't, and no reflection on you, Al, but I just don't, if we really wanted this grant, we're looking a little flat-footed right now, in my opinion, but whatever. It is what it is.
Well, we were, basically wrote this grant to what you told us to do at the workshop.
And I get it, but I mean, there's been, in the conversations, I've been told if we do it this way, well, we don't stand a chance of getting it. Well, I disagreed in my mind, but now when we look this flat-footed, I don't know that it looks good, but I mean, that was our compromise, and.
The flat-footedness will not be rating us any
No, but
right
you know
or
what I
wrong.
mean. I don't, when I say flat-footed, I mean we don't look the most organized in the world.
Basically, they're going to take this grant and dissect it. Thursday, I'm supposed to meet with some people, and I have Jesse coming in, and then we also have SRF to go over this grant already.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will start tearing it apart, rating each section of it.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Ron, go ahead.
Al, you'd mentioned, we heard from the City of Hutchinson, not sending a letter of support. Do we have support from other communities?
Lester Prairie sent a letter, Silver Lake did not.
Okay.
Their reasoning was, I stopped and talked to the administrator there, was they don't feel we should tar the trail, and I said, this grant is not, we're not doing that right now. We are going to plan on doing it in the future, but this grant wasn't touching the asphalt.
Okay. Al, if you could just remind me again, that in the grant application, it's improvement of the corridor is what we're applying for in this grant. Does that include opening up the brushed-in areas and so forth?
Yep, we have money to go through the whole trail and look at if there's any railroad ties in the swamps, get them picked up, widening the trail, and then also the tiling and anything, the culverts, things like that. That was in the original Dakota Rail preliminary engineering report.
Okay.
So all this information was revised per that report.
So if we are successful in receiving this grant and we move forward with the construction on the project, it will be a usable trail in terms of, it will be an open surface then?
It'll be an open surface, gravelled surface.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Rich?
Yeah. So just maybe for my information, we really haven't changed the trail plan at all at this point, the overall trail plan. We're attempting to apply for a piece of this so we can move forward with whatever the overall trail plan actually is.
You have not, the board has not stated, like I mentioned, the board has not stated that the asphalting is out. If that was out, we would take it out of the trail plan. So right now, we're just basically taking doing another section of that plan.
Okay.
Paul?
Yep. I think this is a topic that has been always kind of a hard one to handle. We've gone from this room being extremely full of individuals that want to state their opinion to us trying to figure it out on our own over the last few months. And Doug's brought up the word compromise, and I think that's what this is, and it makes a little bit of traction towards exactly what the trail plan that we approved years ago says. It takes care of what seems to be a very dilapidated trail bed at this point. It makes it safer, pays attention to private property rights, tries to take care of some of these drainage concerns, and builds some degree of progress. However, it stops before we get to two areas that are very difficult for me to figure out, and that is 22 and passing by McLeod County's largest feedlot. And those are yet to be tackled someday, but they're not in this application. They're not even close. We've got a lot more work to do before somebody can figure out what to do there. Within the application, there's no silver bullets in here that says it's even going to be approved, but it does keep our foot in the door. My frustration with this relies pretty much on the legacy program itself that is built so strongly to favor the metro area and once again leaves greater Minnesota in the back row. And if we're not going to put our names in the hat to at least have an application out there to have a seat at the table, we get zero out of something that we pay into. And so I'd rather at least try to make some progress, make an attempt to pull some dollars out here for individuals to use in some form of a trail. I've said it so many times when I sit here, I don't use trails. I'm not a person that has any machines or a horse or want to bike or walk on trails. It's just not my thing. But I know there are people that are in varying degrees. And so this is just a means of small steps in progress if it is accepted. If not, then I guess we learn what we're missing as compared to others. But there's been continual criticism in the past that we're doing this all for the city of Hutchinson. And if they choose not to support this and we move forward with it, well, then that just proves the point that this is a county matter. This is a county trail. And we can move forward on our own, even with letters of support, letters of not support, letters to the editor, or however you want to frame those together. So I am in favor of this application today. I think it's an attempt to at least make some progress with the development of the Dakota Trail. And so with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'll give it to Rich. It's a close call. Second by Commissioner Pohlmeyer. Any discussion? And I have a little bit. This is very hard for me, all right? There's no secret that the townships I represent, either formally or informally, have not supported the trails. And now with the city of Hutchinson not passing that letter, and I get it. I get what they're saying. Maybe I didn't love how they said it, but that's okay. So I'm struggling with it. And honestly, I'm sitting here, I walked in here today, I'm going to vote no, and I don't know what I'm going to do right now. But I just wanted to get that out, that is the struggles that I have with it. I appreciate Commissioner Wright's comments, and I've always said it's not it's not necessarily for Hutch, it's for the whole county. And that's the way we need to make our votes when it comes to this. So, any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I just may weigh in, I do support the resolution simply for the fact that the Dakota Rail Trail as it exists now needs substantial work. I mean, it is an asset, a resource that the county has at its disposal, but it's not fit to use currently. And if this grant application gets us to where the corridor is at least a usable surface, you know, for the coming years. And as we move forward in years, subsequent grant applications may seek the paving, but it is, I think, not only for the benefit of the trail users, but the adjacent landowners who suffer from problems that exist in the current situation. And this just fixes the problems that underlie that rail bed, that we can move forward and have an asset rather than, you know, just a piece of vacant land in the center of the county.
Mr. Chair. Good point. Yes, Doug.
Yeah, and I'd just like to echo that too, and I mean, my townships aren't big trail proponents either, and I have people sitting on the Trails Committee from the township and also from Snow Pros, and they have been working, maintaining that stretch of trail for a number of years, and they've told me how dangerous areas are and how they have to divert from it, and again, I thought that's the direction we were getting, and along with the landowners that have called with the water problems, and I thought this was a step forward in resolving a lot of those issues and gaining possibly some allies. That's why I'm also in favor of the resolution.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Good discussion.
Well, this meeting's a thrill a minute. Thank you. All right, what's next? Oh,
Here comes the cap.
yeah.
Here comes the big one.
All right, John, thanks for sticking around.
Sure. So item D is to consider resolution 19 CB 35 regarding the McLeod County wheelage tax effective January 1st, 2020. So the background on the wheelage tax, it has to be, to do any changes to the wheelage tax, we have to let the Department of Motor Vehicle Services through the Department of Public Safety know by August 1st. We reached out to them, and if we let them know today at this meeting whether we want to increase the wheelage, decrease it, repeal it, that we can still do that today, and it would be effective for January 1st of 2020. What drove some of the discussion with this, to repeal this wheelage or rescind the wheelage tax effective January 1st, 2020, you know, from some past budget workshops we've talked about, I'll just use public works budget or highway budget is short going into 2020, about $1 million. Looked at options. You know, you can increase the levy, which is, you know, puts more burden on the taxpayer. You can increase the wheelage, another $10, which gets us up to around maybe $800,000. There's also the option of the local option sales tax, which can go up to half a cent, which could potentially generate $1.9 million from funds other than McLeod County residents, but folks from outside the county. So that's what kind of brought us to today. You know, if you repeal the wheelage from Public Works perspective, we need to backfill it with something else. That's $385,000 that we use in the program. So, but the resolution in front of you is to repeal the wheelage effective January 1st, 2020.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So, several years ago, we had a choice in front of us whether to accept the wheelage program. Well, there are two options from the state. We had the wheelage tax, or we had the sales tax. It was a split vote. We decided there was a decision on the wheelage, and it is a program where those funds that are collected need to go strictly into the road and bridge account. Over the last few months, the Budget Committee has been meeting and looking at all of our numbers. And every program that we ever approve always needs to be reviewed. And we took a look at wheelage, we took a look at the levy, we took a look at our kind of our cash flow, if you want to call it that. And although today's agenda item just talks about the wheelage tax, we need to open the door to something much, much bigger and how that affects all of our county funding, including the levy. We're going to talk about bonding. We're going to talk about different options, because if we remove the wheelage tax, we do need to backfill it with something. Well, that is an opinion. But we need to talk about the total bills here for a little bit, first of all, and how removing the wheelage is one part of some other options that we need to start taking a look at. Typically in the past, we wait till that month of September when we have to set the preliminary levy. And there's always kind of a dark cloud on that day, and then we review it again in December when we set it officially. Well, today I think it's time to talk about that preliminary levy number a month early, and perhaps have some input from people that are listening, maybe read the newspapers as far as what kind of option they feel that we should pursue. In order to keep a balanced budget, as the Budget Committee has combed these numbers quite hard lately, we're at the number of in excess of $3 million that we need to find revenue for in order to keep things as a balance. Now we have Colleen out there, our bookkeeper in the audience, so if I have anything wrong, Colleen, please don't be afraid to jump up and say you got something wrong, okay?
Yep.
Yeah, see, that didn't take very long, did it? Actually closer to 3.5, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, where we were at the budget for the levy dollars, to get a balanced budget, it's 3.493872 million. That's if we leave the wheelage in. If we take the wheelage out, we're at 3.878872 today.
And that's,
Okay.
and.
That's how
excuse
much
me.
you'd have to increase the levy if you repeal the wheelage and try to balance the budget with the levy.
So, and that's, a lot of those costs are healthcare, social services.
Yeah.
Health and human services, right?
Yes, with,
The trend is the same.
considering wage increases, insurance increases, any HSA contributions that are made to the employees, that's $1 million of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's where the number is. And built within that number is taking road and bridge is using $1 million of reserves this year. John, is that correct for projects? Somewhere in that number?
With the current, yeah.
With the current.
Yeah.
So that means that we would be setting a preliminary levy of somewhere around 15%. Now, when we talk about percentages, that's of course kind of a difficult number because that's usually how it gets written. But when you look at percentages versus counties like Carver County and Wright County, they have a completely different way of looking at things with their tax base. And so maybe we need to, instead of that levy percentage, pay attention to what the actual dollar figure is. It'd be a lot more accurate. But anyways, you know, so then right away, well, what are we going to do with this? You know, the county level of government doesn't make widgets. We don't make things. We can't really change processes very much. We are regulated by laws and statutes from others, such as state and feds, mainly the state, as far as our responsibilities here. And we have been dumping an awful lot of money the last several years into things like public safety, health and human services, courts. These are things that are beyond our control, as well as the paperwork to a pathetic degree that has been asked of all of our different departments that they have to fill out for things has been getting greater and greater, it seems like, on an annual basis. Now, our departments, such as the auditor's office, you know, keeping the records, those are areas that we've been able to keep fairly flat as far as new hires. We look at planning and zoning, environmental services, solid waste. We've actually decreased staff there. However, we continue to put more and more people and dollars into that public safety, health, and human services. Today, we actually approved training for send some individuals to armored assault vehicle training out of state for a little while. And these are things that we can't control. People, you guys behave in a certain manner, and we have to react by paying the bills. You know, we sit here and we can't control those factors of the drug abuse, the drug addiction, the alcoholism, and different things like that, and individuals that choose to have the system raise their kids. We pay for all that up here, and we pay for it by bigger numbers on an annual basis. So we're going to keep raising what it takes to pay those bills until society decides upon their own to have a little more self-accountability, I'm afraid. Kind of getting on my soapbox, and this is my opinion, but it's part of it. This is what makes our bills today what they are, and the levy increases what they have to be for the county level of government. Not unique to McLeod. It's a county-wide thing. If you pay attention to the information that comes out of NACO, National Association of Counties, it's a national issue for us at this level. So, anyways, getting back to some options that we've looked at. Today, we have in front of us appealing the wheelage tax. It's had its debate ever since the day it was approved. Is it right or is it wrong? But if we do that, like John had said, it's $385,000. that we'll no longer have. When we look at transportation funding, by the time we have paid for all these other things, we've not been able to reallocate more money towards road and bridge over the past few years. Depending on state and federal funding, well, we can do that, but that always comes with strings attached. And if you pay attention to how the state and federal government budgeting has been going, I don't think there's any extra money going to shake our way anytime too soon. And so if we grab it here, we at least have more, or acquire it here, would be a better way to put it. We have more control over it, at least at our level. So some options that we looked at in order to do more work with highways would be to implement the 0.5% sales tax instead of wheelage. This brings in a considerable amount more dollars into the county, would decrease our levy assignment to the highway account so that we can reduce the levy impact for this year, and give us the ability to do some bonding and more highway projects. Now, the property tax to fund the highway department, of course, that's paid exclusively by county property tax owners. The wheelage tax is paid by property tax vehicle owners here in McLeod County. When we look at the sales tax, that is paid, yes, by our local residents and by anyone else who is coming to McLeod County to buy products. If we look statewide, out of our counties in the state of Minnesota, and this is data that, of course, we want to work with our newspapers to get to them, so we do have a graphic. According to the Association of Minnesota Counties, there are in excess of 50 that use the wheelage fee, around at least 37 that use the 0.5% sales tax. There's 5 at a quarter. There's 26 counties that use a combination of both, and there are 16 that do not use any. This is not an excuse that we have to take one action or another, but it is just an indication that the counties are using different degrees of tools in funding their highway departments. And I don't think we're unique from anybody in being able to try to find different tools and funding sources to get that done. We will have to this fall finish the bond proposal that we had a public hearing on for our building expansion, which will be 2 years before we can utilize the efficiencies of that. And that was going to be a $2 million bond. At Budget Committee, we feel that it is necessary to increase that up to $4 million bond, just to make sure that all of our accounts stay where they need to be, and so that we do not overly deplete any of our funds for the future. We can make any one year look good if we want to, but it's not a wise decision to then sacrifice the next 5 just to try and make it in the paper that we had a very low levy one year. So what we would like to do is to increase that up to $4 million, that bond. When we go through that, that requires an additional public hearing. And if we were to put an additional $6 million onto that, we would be able to pay for the highway department. We'd be able to pay for that portion through the sales tax proposal, as well as maintain the funding that we'd remove from the wheelage tax. And there would actually be a net gain for the highway department funds. This is definitely a benefit for being able to take care of our roads. The increased cost of road work is definitely a factor, and as well as taking into account the road work that we're not able to get done currently with our 400 miles that are within our highway system that we have. And so today, a possible plan for everyone to consider would be to remove the wheelage. At that point, then, Budget Committee will move forward with setting up a public hearing to bond for up to $10 million. 4 of it will be for the remainder of our building completion, and the additional 6 would be for highway projects, so that we can get them in the queue, so that we can look for better pricing and a lot better management of projects, so that we can keep some of those costs down. From there, we will then have to work on the resolution that is required to implement a sales tax at a 0.5%. Then we can pull, instead of a preliminary levy at 15%, we can pull it down to 9%, because we can use some of those highway funds and keep them within the general fund because of how the sales tax will be funding the highway department from that point on. That would be a program that would allow our roads to be maintained by more people than just county residents. Everybody that comes through here that buys, shops, would be able to have some of their dollars put into the roads, and that's kind of it. So it's a lot of it's a big deal today. It's more than just removing the wheelage. Now, as we can do some changes on that. We don't have to bond as much for highway if we don't want to. We can see how much a 1/4% is going to get us, but it's not really going to fix nearly as much. And I think that this is a plan that does the best job of focusing on controlling a large levy increase without kicking the can down the road to have to do it again someday. And it also gives our highway department the ability to engage in a lot more road plans. We've been hearing about some future projects that would definitely make an impact on some economic gains in the county. And currently with the funding that's out there, we just can't get there. Our 5-way plan is already showing a deficiency, and being able to keep up with roads is getting pretty tough. As a matter of fact, we can't with the existing funding model. So from there, Commissioner Kruger, do you have anything else to add?
Commissioner Wright, you did a great job of doing it. I just, you were kind enough to call us the budget committee, but I'm the other commissioner on that budget committee, so don't direct all your positive feedback to Paul. You can give some to me, but I mean, you've pretty well covered it. I get cautioned not to repeat myself, but if there's some better ideas for the calls that I get, I've done a lot of work. I've been down to St. Paul talking with senators and a couple of representatives on being a conservative. It's adding a tax, but we need to fix our roads. We're one county out of the metro area. We're looking for economic development. We're looking for people to move out here. People today commute. They want to be able to commute in a hurry and safely. So I just don't, it's not easy, but I don't know what else to do. It seems to be a lot fairer. A tax is a tax is a tax. I know all the metaphors, but it spreads out. It gives us more operating capital. Costs are going up. I looked through John's plans. I can have him review some, or you can go online. I'm sure all the 5- and 2-year plans are out there. You can look. Do we start striking them out and not doing anything? I don't think that's the right way to go. Again, we're requiring more from our highway department, and we probably have to keep on doing that as far as efficiencies. But I don't know how else to do it. I don't want to. We sure don't want to go to a 15% levy increase. And I don't know. We opened the can, and again, I do echo what Paul went through. He did a good job of explaining it. I can't think of anything that you left out.
I'm just going to add, by bringing this up today, 1 month before we normally set that preliminary levy, this gives an opportunity for constituents to give us their opinion. Basically, what are the choices? Do we continue using the levy, or is the sales tax a good option to look at? So from there, I'll just kind of be quiet.
It seems to be more fair. It makes everybody. I mean, I never was and still are not a proponent of the wheelage tax. It just taxes people with the cars, and I wonder how many are sitting there that never get driven to pay, or very few miles that pay. This spreads it out. Whether you ride a bicycle or a scooter or a motorcycle, I mean, you're going to buy your goods, and it got here by if you want to use Hutch, it only could get to Hutch by a truck. I mean, so, I mean, it's paying for roads, so again, it seems like to be the only necessary evil that we have to work with, so.
Well, I'm guessing everybody has something to say here, so, Ron?
I'll pass for now.
For now? I might not come back to you. Rich?
I guess all I'll add is I appreciate the work the Budget Committee has been doing, and as part of the board, I think we've been aware of this problem for a while, not knowing exactly what to do or how to do it. This gives us at least one of a viable option to continue. Everyone wants your roads good, you want to drive on them, and we know that this last winter was exceptionally hard on all the roads, and to try and make up, and I know there's been road projects over the past few years that have been just left behind because of lack of funds. And no other reason than that, and I think the Budget Committee has done a very good job of at least proposing an option for us to consider, and the decisions are not easy when we're looking at those kind of dollars. Those are kind of dollars that most of us don't deal with every day. So
Ron?
I appreciate their work.
Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were listening to the information that Paul provided, and I thank you for that. I was punching buttons on my calculator and just trying to estimate, what an individual might pay in sales taxes. And then I also punched in what a 15% property tax levy increase would look like. And I think we might be better off with the sales tax option rather than a huge levy increase. But, as a county commissioner, our duty is to get the most benefit for our constituents at the least cost. And so, as we go into the budget process, we will still keep an eye on, how do we manage the ever-growing cost of doing business in McLeod County. And so we want to, be cognizant of that fact that this affects all of our taxpayers. And, we want to respect their, concerns as well as the concerns of our staff. So thank you, John.
Real quick, the roads Rich mentioned, the roads have been passed up. That's been a few of them in the district I represent, and that's okay. I mean, and we've put some Band-Aids on those, but that we can't do that forever. I've never been a wheelage tax fan, but it was, it was just the option that was here, and it was better than the others at the time, but maybe it's not anymore. But I don't want to have both, right? And I think that's important. You gave those stats, and I don't remember all the numbers. Some do. But I don't, and knowing the gentleman up here, I'm guessing they don't either. They don't want to have both. But it's been a long day. We're almost done. I won't be home till late, so if anybody wants to call me, you might as well wait till after 5, because when you want to yell at me about this stuff. But I think it's time for us to make a decision on the wheelage tax. So,
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the resolution 19 CB 35.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good discussion. Thanks, John.
Just I'm going to add one note. We do have a graphic that has some numbers that we'll be filling out for members of the press. So if they want those, it might take a day to fill in the blanks to make sure that we have that correct. Because we definitely want this message out there in 100% transparency as to our intentions that we talked about today. And we have a month to get some feedback from folks.
Okay, let's...
Can I have just a word yet?
Sure.
Mr. Chair.
What the heck?
And that is the truth. We toyed as a budget committee to whether we throw it all out there or not. It's pretty, I can't think anything we're missing. We threw it all out there. And I mean, we want to work within, or in a transparent manner. And I think we threw it all out there. I still stand by the new government center. I think in years to come, it's going to show efficiencies. I know I'm going to get calls on that. The preliminary figures on that was 1% a year for 20 years. Is that right, Colleen, roughly? I mean, is that, it doesn't have to be specific, but my point is, it's going to take a couple of years to get efficiencies out of that with all the buildings that we have and demanding or requiring accountability to our staff and people that work, and that's going to do that. I'm convinced of that, but it's things like that brought us here, and Commissioner Wright, I don't know of anything that I can't think of anything offhand that we're holding back on anything. It's all out there.
We went for full disclosure today, so.
All right, sorry, we do have another meeting here that we have to get to. So, if you would please, Sheila, where are we? Item C under the administration.
Thank you. Item C, consider approval of the Personnel Committee recommendation to rate the Health and Human Services Office Manager at grade 180. Reminder that this request is the result of the Social Services Office Supervisor retiring and combining those duties with those already associated with the Public Health Office Manager. Another effort for efficiency within the Health and Human Services Department with the efforts of having them work together.
Yeah, that worked out good. So, any questions for Sheila?
I'll move to approve the office grade manager, grade 180.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item D, notification of McLeod County Workshop to be held on August 20th, 2019, following the county board meeting here at the Glencoe City Center.
All right. Thank you, Sheila. Anything else?
Thank you. No,
Ron,
thank you.
Mr.
Ron,
Chairman.
real quick.
Mr. Chairman, in a review of commissioner calendars, I neglected to report that the McLeod Sibley Trailblazer Health Insurance Committee and Joint Powers Board met yesterday and kind of zeroed in on our plan for 2020. There are some changes. We are going to seek some advice from legal counsel regarding our joint powers agreement, some modifications there and so forth. We'll get more details on that later.
All right, thank you. Real quick, we do have a workshop after this. Because we're going to be really tight for time, we'll see which topics we get through, but we'll try. But right now, open forum or press relations. Anything? Karen?
Sure, I can get that, work with you. Yep.
It's a bunch of scribbles if you want to see.
Yeah,
It's not real prepared.
It's quite a page. So.
Anything else, Karen? All right. All right, then I am looking for a motion to recess and until 1 p.m. today, where we will reconvene in the McLeod County Courthouse in the basement in the boardroom, the old boardroom, if you will, where we'll be conducting interviews for our administrator, the finalists for the county administrator.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schmansky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.